I can just get your attention for a moment. Whakarongo mai. If any of your tables have a spare seat, can you all put your hand up so the people at the back can come and find a seat? No one at the back's moving, so they must all be happy. Can you hear me, Nick?
Find a posse.
I can hear me. So everybody come and grab a seat as soon as you can. It's great to see all of you, and I think we have enough seats for everybody now.
All right.
Sorry.
Oh, good. Okay. Watch out. Have a seat, Mr. Allbell. Whoops. Well, what an absolute pleasure to see this hall so full and to see faces of people we know and care about and some new faces as well. It's absolutely fantastic. So welcome, a big hearty welcome to all of you. Now, I left behind my list of people. Oh no, I didn't. I first of all want to welcome you all, and then there are some people that we should welcome particularly. We've got our Sandy, the DCC CEO is here somewhere there. Have we got any councillors in the room? Stand up. Rachel Elder at the back and Councillor Barker, Sophie here. Good, and that's very nice of them to come. And we've got Simon Cox. Stand up, Simon, from GNS. Come to give us some information, and all of us. And we've got Joy from and the community team. Oh, so many people, but it's all about us. And I can't remember when the last Hui was. Last August, thank you. Last August, which just seems forever ago, so I'm really happy that we're here now today. I'm going to hand over to our Robin to do the housekeeping. She's good at that.
Kia ora everybody, welcome this evening. I just wanted to open tonight's hui with a karakia. Kia hora te marino, kia whakapapa ponamo te moana, hi hura rahi mā tātou I te rangi nei, aroha atu, aroha mai, tātou I a tātou katoa, hui e taiki e. These words mean, may peace be widespread among us. May the sea be like greenstone, a pathway for us all today. Let us show respect and care for each other and hold us lovingly together. I quickly just want to do some housekeeping. It's wonderful to see all of you here, and I have to admit we weren't expecting numbers because of that jolly COVID, but thank you so much for coming out. And we've designed tonight's hui to be slightly different in an attempt to make it safer for all of us in a COVID way. So we're going to be based at tables, and you should have a table host at each of your tables. So they're there to look after you and give you manaakitanga, which is being a host and showing you a welcoming spirit. We'll also be serving the meal to you tonight at your tables, so everybody won't be lining up and mingling with people outside of their tables. So you can relax. It's all going to be brought to you this evening, unless there's a fire alarm, and then you have to move. There's heaps of doors. Each of the red doors will take you through to an exit. You can go to either side of the building because we'll do a clear to make sure that the building is empty. So you just get out to either side. There's concrete basketball courts on each side. There are bathrooms out these doors and down the end for both male and female. And we have a tea and coffee station up here that once we're into the dinner part of the evening, you're welcome to come and help yourself. Just ask that you respect everybody's spaces. Not everybody wants to be closer than a metre with all of us tonight, and we want to make everybody feel safe. I think that's all the things. Oh, last thing, we do have a photographer floating around. Yola is over here. She's taking photos primarily for the network Facebook page and the lowdown. If you don't want to be in photos, ironically, let me know and I'll take a photo of you, but then I can check that you're not in any of the photos and I can get rid of those photos. So make yourself known to me, and then there'll just be one photo that I'll delete. I'll pass you back to our chair, Eleanor Doig, for her welcome.
Hello. So, first of all, just a random question. Who got a lowdown in their letterbox this week or recently? Okay. All right, that's interesting. Thank you very much. How far are they?
How far spread out across the community?
We're putting the number up to 4,000, as time goes on. But if you particularly want one and you've not been getting one, let us know. Did you? Good. Yep. Okay, that's great. Yep, do. That'd be perfect. So I want to just very quickly introduce you to some of the people who are working so hard in our community on our governance group, our ropu. Would those people please stand up so we can name and celebrate them? Over here we have Steve King, who works at Red Cross and has been involved forever. Eula has also been involved forever and is our key photographer and a lady who knows everything. And Sarah over here, who's our very efficient secretary. We've got more people than that, but they are either not able to come out tonight or whatever. So the South Dunedin Community Network is buzzing. As you know, things are really roaring along and it's very exciting. I want to just name our pride in being South Dunedin. I think there is such a growing spirit of actually belonging in South Dunedin means we care for each other and we look after each other. And an example of that was that my dear neighbour, without being asked, swept up all my autumn leaves at the weekend, and that's what South Dunedin people do. That's a very lovely thing. So just a reminder, our kaupapa, how we do things in these hui, the bottom line is respect, isn't it? So we have respect for each other in all our capacities, and that means listening politely and speaking politely. Speak your thoughts, speak up, but don't be rude, don't be aggressive. And we care for each other. We care for the mana of each person, and that is very important in the community that is arising in this place. So it's good. So that's how we do things in this meeting. Awesome. So, and one very quick thing. There's suddenly an interest from assorted places about insurance in South Dunedin. If anybody has a story of finding it difficult to get insurance in South Dunedin, could you please contact Ian Telfer? Stand up, Ian. This man here is ready and open for any stories around insurance or skyrocketing rates, although I think we've all got skyrocketing, not rates, insurance premiums. No, we don't have skyrocketing rates. Whoops. Sorry about that. Sorry. Yeah, premiums I meant to say, yeah. Okay, so if you've got a story, talk to Ian, because they're looking for, like the University and Treasury are looking for stories from our area so that they can take that into the policy making that's going on. All right, I'll hand you back to the wonderful Robin, who does far more than housework.
Thank you, Eleanor. Oh, I can take this off while I'm talking. Our first speaker tonight is Sandy Graham from the DCC. We're all here with a main focus on the community library and the issues around that. But I just wanted to, on behalf of the network, make sure everybody is aware that Sandy has gone out of her way to communicate with us on behalf of the community, and we knew about things before they hit the ODT, which we really appreciated because a lot of community members were upset, and we had answers when they rang us so we could help support people. And I also would like to acknowledge that Sandy was supposed to be on leave today, and she has cut her holiday short and isn't going on leave till tomorrow to be with us tonight. So I think it's a really amazing thing that you've done, Sandy, for our community. So here's Sandy.
Kia ora everyone, and thank you Robin and Eleanor for the warm, inviting, kind words. This is one of the hui with the community that I enjoy most, and it's one of the ones I've been to most regularly since I've been appointed to the role as Chief Executive. And you're a community of folk who, you know, I really feel deep connection to, and I understand the concern you have and some of the issues that we have in the area. And so I've enjoyed working with the team and looking at what we can do as council to help you in the broader picture. And we've got a number of the team here. We've got Ian, Jonathan, I can see, we've got Joy. So there's a range of DCC staff here. If you want to talk about any of the good policy work that we're doing, the stuff we're doing around the coastal plan, any of that. I'm not going to talk about that because I sense tonight you're interested in one thing in particular. But so I will touch briefly on another really good thing, and that's playgrounds. And there's some really positive things happening with playgrounds in your area. And you'll remember when I was here, I think it would be August last year, and we had the team here and we talked about what we would do at Bathgate Park at the end. It's happening. I don't know if you've been past, it's pretty awesome. So that's fantastic. At the same time, there's a pump track going into Marlow Park, which again, would be really, really cool. That'll be done, I think, by the 7th of June. And then College Street's being upgraded as well. So I think there's a lot of really good things happening in the playground space, as well as the council decision to investigate where and how we do a destination playground. So I really would urge you, when that consultation happens, to have your say, because we have Marlow Park, like the dinosaur park, but the council are really interested in looking at anything you can come up with. So you've got lots of options. Think about what you would like to see ideally. You know, so dream big in the playground space, because my sense is that it's the right time to make a really fabulous playground. Whether it's in South D, whether it's somewhere else, make sure that you engage in that process and have your say, because we're really interested in hearing it. And the two councillors here tonight, if you get a chance, let them know what you think. I am sure they'll be interested. So the main thing I want to have a chat about is the new library. And I first just want to acknowledge how disappointed you all must be with the news that we can't start demolition until February 2025. And it's, you know, in August I stood here and was hopeful that we would be in a demolition and building phase by now, but unfortunately we're not. And it was the choice. We've got a community trust there who do a great job for a really important part of the community, and they're based there, and we've just not been able to find another place for them to go, despite extensive efforts both on their behalf and on our behalf working together. We just can't. So at some point we just had to draw a line and say we need to stop looking and work out what we can do in the interim. So the trust will be there until January 2025, but in discussions with Eleanor and the team, we've decided to make available the old Veggie Boys space and the Para Rubber space to the community in whatever way that you want to use it. And we're not precious about what you do with it. We've given a fund to Eleanor and the team to manage, and I think tonight you get to have a crack at designing what you might like to go in those spaces, and we're up for any conversation. And I'm sure if your aspirations are more than the allocated budget, then Eleanor will be in touch to see if there isn't some other way to find some more money. So what I would say is, you know, really engage in this process and think about what it is that you might do and how you might do it. We are open to all and any ways of doing it. I know there's already talk about potentially putting murals on the outside of the building. If that's possible, we'll look at doing that. That'd be super cool, and it'd be great before it gets demolished. You know, and that would be quite fun. Who knows what you could come up with that might point to that. We're looking at activating the space so you can see what's possible, because the one thing you need to know is we are 100% committed to building the the community hub the minute we can. So we will start demolition the instant we can. And I just need to be clear because there's been I've had quite a bit of correspondence that suggests that this is council walking away from its decision. Nothing could be further from the truth. It's just we've had to change the timing. So, happy to take as many questions as you have. Oh, well, it'll be February because we have to let them get out. It'd be rude to demolish it while they were still in there.
What's the estimated finishing date?
Oh, look, that I cannot tell you because depending on what the design and build looks like, so we haven't fully designed the facility yet.
So you actually got a plan of it here tonight? That we can
Sorry?
have
I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
You've actually got a plan of it so we can have a look at it tonight?
No, we do not. So we're still at the moment working up what the design will look like.
Fair enough. Okay.
So, but I imagine that there'll be community engagement in that process as it goes, but there's a group working on it, working with Mana Whenua as well to ensure that it's a building that represents the community and is fit for purpose and future-proofed.
And what, single floor or?
Oh, look, truly, that's a level of detail I don't know, but I'd imagine it will be single floor, but truly, I don't know.
Yeah, but once those plans are complete, no doubt it'll go to the news media.
Oh, I'm sure it will, even potentially before they're complete, just depends.
Hello, Sandy. Now, with your employment and any council's employment, top of mind perception is health and safety.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with all these new roadworks around Hanover and Philo Street and George Street, I have noticed over the last 2 years, because of the bricks are not sitting proud of the level of all the other bricks I've seen, elderly people, teenagers, a mother tripped on a brick and fell over, nearly landed on her face. What will be the outcome of that? Will all those bricks be replaced, particularly in Hanover Street and Philo Street?
So
that question was...
no, I got the... Oh, do you want me to repeat it? I can repeat it in my answer. Okay. So in terms of the bricks in Hanover, Philo and George, so the George Street section is being replaced with paving tiles that are far flatter, because I acknowledge the bricks have moved over time and they're a horrible surface. Yeah, they're awful. And so we are looking to replace or fix all of those. We've got a plan and we're spending more money in the next budget on footpath renewals and making them flat, because we all know, we're getting older and we're all moving towards that point in our lives where it's getting more difficult to move around. I notice things now that I've never noticed before, and it's interesting, and we're an ageing population. So accessibility becomes really, really important, let alone for those who have, in our disabled community. So it's an absolute focus. But I acknowledge that they're a bit rubbish at the moment. Yeah, I know. Look, truly, they're not ideal, but we've got a plan to fix them. And they do, and so that question was, what happens to all the leaves and the gutters, and they block your drains? Absolutely, they do, and autumn is really, really difficult, and so we do the best we can. And so we have a system, I've told you this before and I'll tell you again because I hope it gives you comfort. We monitor the weather. If it looks like there's going to be a decent dump of rain, the cleaning crews that we have, the street cleaning crews with the big sucker trucks, are focused on the low-lying areas, and they come out and they do extra sweeps and they try and ensure that the areas where drainage is more challenging are dealt with first. But what I would say is, and I don't know about you, you do it, it's like you sweep your drive or you tidy up, there's a wind, the next day you can't tell that you've done it. So it's sometimes it's really helpful if you can and if you're able, or if your neighbour can, and there's a grate in front of your house or nearby, if you can pull them off and just put them on the footpath, we can collect them. But if you can do that yourself, that's great. We do the best we can, but sometimes we all have to to do our bit, but I appreciate that not everyone is physically able to do that. No, sorry, it was a yellow bin question, but I'm not quite sure what.
They just chucked them in the old way.
Yellow bins are tricky, because it's a truck, it comes along, it picks them up, drops them down, puts them down. It does it, the machine is designed to do its best to put them flat, but occasionally they fall over. So again, I know in my street where it happens, if I'm walking past and one's fallen over, I try and pick it up. Sometimes, until the person is able to take it into their drive, I know the system works as best they can. We give feedback to the drivers to do it as slowly as they can. Sometimes stuff happens and they fall over. So again, the quid pro quo sometimes. Yes. Well, I think it's hard to find, and there's a different issue there with the website. So what particularly about Three Waters would you like an update on? Because that question could take me until midnight, so it depends. No, I'm serious. So what, anything in particular?
Well, it was voted that go into a discussion group, possibly against what the government wanted, and then it's been revoked. So can you take us through what's happening there?
Well, that's a different thing than Three Waters. So that's an entirely political decision. So that's nothing, not really. The government have a Three Waters reform program. This council is committed to the regulatory part of that. There's no disagreement about that. Everyone deserves access to good water. And that's the regulatory part of Three Waters reform. The other part that is slightly more contentious is how to deliver that. And there is a difference of views of our council, but broadly we are supportive of the council, and so this again is a political decision, are broadly supportive of the need for change. Just what that change looks like hasn't been agreed. The group you're referring to is a group called Communities for Local Democracy. It's a group of some councils around New Zealand that has broken away, well, maybe not broken away, but has been formed in opposition to the main view across councils. Our council voted to join, and then following debate and feedback from mana whenua, and specifically, the two runaka here, they revoked that decision and have withdrawn from that group, but they still remain fully engaged in Three Waters. That's the political bit. What I can tell you is during the 4 weeks ago, this council put in agreed to put an additional 15 staff into the Three Waters space to do the necessary systems planning and work to make sure that when change happens, which will be on 1 July 2024, that the city is best placed to continue to deliver and continue to do the work in the Three Waters space. So there's a lot of, and how that happens still hasn't been decided. So at the minute, the proposal is for a single entity D, which is basically the Ngāi Tahu Takiwā, which means the entire South Island, but for a little bit up near Nelson. So that's the current proposal. And feel free to ask either of the councillors here for further information, and they'll let me know if I haven't captured that, but I think I've got it about right. Yeah. Well, I tell you what, if you contact one of the two councillors who are here, I'm sure they can. So Councillor Barker's right there. And so after we've done and there's time, and there's Councillor Elder at the back, if either one of those can follow up for you, and then they'll liaise with me. And is that all right? It's sweet, perfect. Someone. It did, and so we had 4 different sites, all of which we were prepared to work with them on a fit out, because with the mobility issues with some of the folk that work there and they work with, needed to be fully accessible and potentially have a lift if it was two stories. We helped them put in an offer on a property they didn't win. We negotiated with leases for 2 other properties, offered to pay the fit-out costs, couldn't get any of it across the line, unfortunately. So we did the best we could, and at some point we just had to decide, best the trusts stay where they are, and we crack on with just activating the space and testing how it might work. I think it'll be exciting. I think it'll actually be a really fun opportunity to try things that you might like to see in the final hub, and to activate the space, and actually just to start to get a sense of what can be. I think it's really exciting. It's got one here and one at the back. I'm not sure. There was a hand up at the back, and oh, good. Okay. So can I answer that one before you move on to the next one? Because this is the Read, Share, Grow program. So if you, so that one, because is this Read, Share, Grow? Yeah, so off you go. See, but I knew, like how well briefed I was.
I'll start again. I'm Bridget Shawman, and I'm working on a project called Read, Share, Grow. You might have seen a bus. You might have seen books like the ones that are up on the stage at the moment. We've, in the last 2 years, delivered 15,000 books to the children of South Dunedin, the greater South Dunedin area, between Concord, oh, clap me, clap her as well. This is Kirsty. Kirsty's also involved in this project. She works for the council. It's a huge project. It's ongoing. It's been going for 2 years, and it will be ongoing for another 2 years. We've just employed another staff member. Oh, sorry, I've got laryngitis. Who will come on board next week, to help me with the delivery of these items. This is also we've involved the schools. We've involved lots of community groups. So far, we've engaged with 125 separate organisations and businesses. So there are lots of books. So COVID ruins everything, as you know. So if you go and buy your fish and chips at the takeaway in South Dunedin, or anywhere between Concord and Tainui, you might be able to find some books there. They're in the shops, they're in the laundromats, they're in the schools, they are at the library, at the little library on Hillside Road. Basically, we have slathered the community, all the cafes, the doctor's rooms, anywhere where you might go with a little child. Hopefully, you would find some books. The Lilliput libraries, we stock those all the time. We have an ongoing program we deliver all the way around the area. Yeah. Some of the churches have already had books, but if you know somewhere, if anybody knows somewhere where we can put books, I can see Sandy over there. Sandy's one of our big supporters through Supergrands. If you know somebody who would like to distribute books for us, if you have little children in your street and you'd like to be able to hand them a book, if you know of families that are in need, we would love to give them books. We've given out quite a lot of books to children and families who are isolating through the schools, but our quest, and we have a lot of books, and we want them all to be in homes for the children around here. And we're not about literacy, we're actually about learning to love reading, and we know that health and wellbeing outcomes are much, much better for children who enjoy reading. And so finding the right books is important to us. We try to get books in home languages for children all the way, so Māori and Pacifica kids, but also for basically any child to find themselves in a book. I've been singing the reading song for a long time. I'm happy to talk reading with anybody who will listen.
Right.
So, since I've got a stack of questions,
Yeah.
I'm aware of Te Cura, and they've got fabulous educational resource packs. And I'm also aware that when we went into lockdown, we had no access for educational resources for my children until I went into the Te Cura system. So I was wondering if there's a way you can get the Te Cura, which is New Zealand's correspondence school. They've already made thousands of these educational resources for different aged children on thousands of different subjects. Whether or not we can get a library-like room where parents can actually just go and collect educational resources so that they can do that sort of stuff at home, and also if there's another lockdown, you can get those resources into the homes.
That would seem to me a perfect thing to consider as part of your discussion about what you might activate the vacant spaces for, and form a part of a consideration for what will be delivered out of the new hub.
And I've got a whole stack. The other one is my rubbish bag keeps getting ripped open by some sort of animal.
Awful.
And so sometimes when I go down to Green Island rubbish tip, it looks like you've got to drive your car there, and it looks very intimidating. I kind of want to be able to get rid of a Dunedin City Council rubbish bag into a dump area rather than leaving it outside my house.
Oh, look, there's no easy solution to that. All I can say is that council has acknowledged that those black bags are a problem because of animals and are moving to a curbside collection system instead. But we're just buying the bins at the minute, and we won't roll that out until next year. So until then, I'm sorry, there is no easy answer. I try, because I have the same problem at mine. I try putting my black bag on top of the yellow bin, but the animal that has moved into my neighbourhood seems to be able to get that as well. So I'm sorry.
So there's not a way of just getting a bin outside the Green Island?
No, look, there's no easy way of doing it. And so what I will do is feed back to the staff that maybe they can look at checking that there's an easy way once you get a bit further in. If you left it too far out, then there's an issue with exactly the same thing happening. So I'll see if there's a way of making it less intimidating as you drive in. But I can't promise anything because it's a complex environment in there. More.
The simple way to stop animals getting into your rubbish is to put bleach on your rubbish bag.
What a great
and they
idea.
won't go near it.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll put that tip on the website. Awesome. See, I love it when you learn something every day.
This might be our last question for Sandy, unless anyone jumps up and down.
Oh.
Yes, so these new rubbish tins or plastic bins,
Yeah.
will there be 2 or 3?
There might be 3 or 4. So there's a red lidded bin, which is for household rubbish. You've already got your yellow bin, that stays. You've already got your blue bin for glass. Then there'll be, and this is where we're still working through the procurement process. The plan was an optional bin for green waste, and then a bin for what we call putrescible or food waste. Contracts are coming back and they're saying, we mix the food and the green waste when we get to the landfill anyway, so maybe we just need a bin for both. So that's what we're looking at. So it might be, so there'll be yellow, red, and food smelly green stuff. Right. I am happy to take more questions, but if there are none, but I'm equally happy to take them. So thank you all for your time. One thing that I do just at the end is team at the back getting ready to vote, right? So one of the roles and responsibilities of the chief executive is to encourage registration, voter registration, make sure you're registered, make sure you vote. So that's a bit further in the future. This is for the local government elections, okay? And then that's really important. The other thing though, and this is really important, is I'm required to encourage candidacy, okay? And what that means is it's really important that we have diverse people around the council table, because you want your council to represent their community. And sometimes that doesn't always happen. In Dunedin we've been pretty well served, but we don't often have young voices, we don't often have Māori or Pacifica voices, I don't know if we have voices from the disabled community, for example. And so what I think, it's really important, so if you are interested in standing as a candidate, there'll be material up on the council website, or you can contact my office and we can provide you with information. You could talk to the councillors who are here about what it's like, and we'll be putting out a whole lot of resources about it, but just not for a week or two. But I would encourage you to think about people you know, or you yourself, if you think that you can make a difference and you've got the time, because it's a decent time commitment, to stand, consider standing as a member of the council. Okay, and you'll get your opportunity from about the middle of July to put your nominations in, so you've got a bit of time to think about it. But please get in touch with my office if you've got anything you'd like to know, and I'm happy to meet with you, or if there are any smaller groups in your community and you'd like me to come along and have a bit of a yarn about what's involved. I promise to be reasonably candid, sorry councillors, about what's involved. But I'm happy to talk to any groups, big or small. If you're in Rotary or Lions, you've got me covered, truly, and I think that maybe you're not the groups I necessarily mean, because I think you probably have avenues into candidacy anyway. I'm interested in trying to talk to groups that wouldn't normally have a voice around the table, because I think it's really important that we encourage diversity. I'm happy to take questions about that as well.
Thank you, Sandy.
Well, getting a meeting with me isn't always that easy, because my diary is quite busy, but if you ring 477 4000 and ask to speak to me, you'll get put through to my office. And I have Kim in my office, who is fabulous, and she'll have a yarn to you and check whether I'm the right person to talk to or whether I'm not, because truly I don't know very much about what's going on. I know a little bit about a lot of things, but often your questions will need you to talk to one of my staff who are experts in the thing that you're ringing about. So 477 4000, ask to speak to my office. Kim will make sure that you talk to the right person. If it's me, she'll fit you in my diary, but if it's not, she'll make sure it's the right person. Oh. There was, and do you know what happened? COVID. No, it didn't. And look, and what I think has happened is that what was going to go in there, which is still potentially going to go in there, has just been delayed because the market has meant that the developer is waiting to put it in there for a range of other reasons that are happening. It's complicated. It will be exciting. It's like the library. Good things take time. I can't tell you what it is, I'm sorry. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Sandy, as always, answering all of our questions so honestly. We're going to give Sandy permission to duck out if she wants to, so you can pack suitcases and things. But thank you so much. Our next... And have a lovely holiday, Sandy. Our next speaker is Simon Cox from GNS. I saw him up there in the middle. So Simon is always great to listen to, because I always learn something about the science of what's happening beneath us.
Kia ora everybody, tēnā koutou katoa. I've got three things that I want to tell you about that are happening in the science, or have happened in the science in the last year, that are really quite interesting and quite exciting. And there's one other thing at the end I want to touch on. So the three things, the first one I've got illustrated here is the New Zealand Sea Rise program. You may have seen in the newspaper about a month ago or 6 weeks ago that we've now got new models of the rates at which sea level is rising that also take into account the amount that the land is moving. The good news is that on the whole we think that South Dunedin and Dunedin is relatively stable. And certainly the rates at which we're seeing local sea level rise are not as great as we see elsewhere. The bad news is that internationally sea level rise is rocketing. In the last decade it's been incredibly fast. And so the global picture, if that does come to New Zealand, is not looking good. But the new website for Sea Rise will show you a graph like this. You can plot these graphs up and you can see how much sea level rise you might expect, depending on the different colours here are the different CO2 concentration pathways that we may or may not go down, depending on how much we curb our CO2 emissions. And essentially, it's coming up, and we can't do a lot about it. But the good news is we actually have a dune system there that's about 20 metres high, and we've got a high bit of ground down near Portsmouth Drive, and we haven't got ground that's very permeable. So that's sea level rise. That's the first bit I wanted to tell you about, and you're welcome to come and talk to me about it afterwards. The second piece of news I want to tell you about was something in the paper the other day, which is a new LiDAR survey of ground elevation. Using a laser scanning backwards and forwards shot from an aircraft that flew backwards and forwards in June last year, they surveyed the height of the ground. And the Otago Regional Council have been absolutely brilliant at bringing that together for us. It tells us the height of the ground to within 10 centimetres. It tells you the height of the buildings and the trees, and we can work out a much better model for understanding the flooding and for understanding the groundwater. This is state-of-the-art data that is now available, and I just put it into the groundwater models this week. The good news is that actually we now seem to be about 15 centimetres higher than we thought we were, although we weren't actually. We haven't changed, but the new survey suggests we're slightly higher, which does make a bit of difference. I guess the bad news is that it's still relatively flat-lying ground close to sea level. So there's always trade-offs. That's the LiDAR survey, and thank you ORC for that. The other part that they have done with us at GNS Science is that in October we drilled some more boreholes. In fact, ORC paid for 9 boreholes around the place where we extracted out the ground and looked at the age of the sediment, and we've been monitoring the fluctuations of the groundwater. The good news, I suppose, is that we haven't had any big storms in the last 3 years. In fact, there's been hardly any rain in 3 years, and the groundwater levels are very low at the moment. I guess the bad news is exactly the same thing, is that we haven't actually managed to see, from a scientific point of view, what that groundwater would look like in a flood. And of course we don't want to see that, but we're certainly keen to see a good heavy douse of rain to see what happens. So we've now got some new models, there's some new monitoring, and it's a much improved model. And so from the perspective of giving that information, for example, to insurance companies, they should be looking at it in a much happier way, which is why I do it. So that's the science from the point of view of 3 really cool things that have happened. Some drillings and monitoring in the last 3 years, a new LiDAR survey, and the Sea Rise model, giving us much more information to start to come up with solutions. I guess the sad thing from my perspective has been the churn in the DCC. Science is about doing and learning, but then you have to apply. And from my personal perspective, I've been sad about the number of people that I used to work with who've moved on. In fact, I think it's really sad the difficulty that the councillors in the DCC have. It's really hard. We sit there quite often and we criticise them. We say, oh, you should be doing this and you should be doing that. And in fact, that's really hard to work with all the time, with that criticism. And I think that's part of the reason that the 4 people that I mainly work with have gone. And their knowledge is gone. And now I've got to rebuild it. So I guess I want to ask you personally to get involved in the science from the bottom end and think about bottom-up stuff and what you can do to support it. And the first thing is you need to support your council. You need to get behind them and stop that negativity that stops them from feeling proud about what they're doing. But also at a personal level, the thing that Sandy touched on is really important. They're trying to deal with the mud tanks out here and keeping those drains clear, but it's really hard with all the leaves and the stuff that goes on in the weather, in the autumn particularly. And I was out the other day and I bumped into Jules Radich and we stood together beside a drain that was covered in cabbage tree leaves. So if you want to do one thing to be selfish for protecting your land from flooding and the rain that'll come down, which is the current problem that you have, adopt a drain and keep it clean and do that one little thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon. Does anyone have any questions for Simon, bearing in mind we're running very late for dinner? Warwick.
Well, my favourite walkway seems to have been eroded between the Sinclair life-saving Hill Park. So is that likely to be
The question was, one of his favourite walkways between St Clair and Kettle Park has been eroded, and is it likely to be built again? I can't answer that. I can only answer to the geology and the processes that are going on, and certainly the swells that are coming in and the sea level rise has changed the deposition. What's really cool that we can do from a science point of view is that we can see how much sand has changed and where it's changed by subtracting one LiDAR survey against the other. And we know now how much is moving and where it's moving. And while that area has definitely eroded, there's a huge amount that's come at the other end of the beach. And so it's really interesting seeing that longshore drift process, and that helps us to understand whether, for example, putting in the poles or something might actually help. So I can't tell you whether they're going to replace that walkway, but at the moment that's a very vulnerable area and I'm concerned about it.
Thank you. Thanks, Simon. Adopt a drain might become a new thing you'll see the network talking about. And, you know, the science is so fascinating and it helps us understand more of what's going on. So the network's really keen to develop in that space as well. So if you are joined up with us as a member, and there's membership forms everywhere tonight, you'll get all the emails and hear what's happening and be able to keep getting involved. And that's how we get more power, by growing our knowledge. So keep in touch with us. I am very wary that we're running quite late for dinner, so we're going to invite our caterers through now. Are they here? They come on in. So this is Liam and Jackie. They approached us about 2 months ago with a dream to create a new food truck. Well, they'll tell you all about it, and they're our caterers tonight, and they're going to explain to us what we'll be eating.
Thanks, Robin. So, like she said, my name is Jackie, and this is Liam. And we're starting up a food truck that we're calling the Dunedin Bowling Club. The whole idea is that if you bring your own bowl, you get a $4 meal. Otherwise, it's $5. So it's all about just providing affordable and wholesome, like, comfort food is what we're thinking. So you'll get a taste of it tonight. And we're really grateful to the South Dunedin Community Network for giving us the opportunity. We'll be parking out in their car park. Mondays and Fridays, we're launching on Matariki, so June 24th. And yeah, the whole wider mission is just basically creating this feeling of like abundance through food, a really welcoming atmosphere, and like creating safe gathering spaces and communities. So yeah, Liam will tell you what you'll be eating tonight.
All right, so we've got, to start off with, we've got some Irish soda bread, and we actually milled the wheat ourselves from my cousin's wheat. It's made with Evansdale whey as well. And then we've got a broccoli casserole. It's sort of just like a rice and veggie baked thing. And it's made with like bacon bones and cheese that we made ourselves. And we've got a carrots and cabbage and apple salad with a mustard and dill dressing. And then for dessert, we've got peanut butter fudge, a chocolate mousse, a ginger sauce, and these homemade cocoa puffs. It's like a puffed wheat with chocolate on them. Just a note on dietaries, so the bread is obviously not it's got gluten in it. We have got some gluten-free bread available if you would like that. There's also vegan bread if you don't have dairy. And then the main course, there's pork and dairy in the main course. So we have a vegan option if you don't have any of those. And the salad dressing has been milled through our flour mill, so there might be some traces of wheat. We did clean it out, but we can't do it perfectly. And then desserts is the same thing. It's put through a mill, so it might have traces, and we can take the wheat off if you're gluten-free. So we'll have some runners come to your table and you can let them know of any dietaries. Sure, that would be good.
So could I ask if the table hosts could politely excuse themselves to go and help bring the kai back to their table? And then once we have the food with us, we will do a grace or a karakia kai, just to let you guys know. This way, I think, yeah. But I do know there'll be tea and coffee making going on behind me. Oh, hi, Chris. Oh. Oh, yeah. Wow, that was... so let's check the time. Kia ora, everybody. So we're just about at 7:10, and we wanted to try and get everybody home by 7:30. We're going to do our very best, but it might be a little bit longer for that, and we apologise with beautiful food, so we hope that you will forgive us. I would just like to, I think Liam and Jackie and their team are all very busy tidying up after us in the kitchen, but I wonder if we could do a big round of applause for that kai. Because it was wonderful, and I just quickly also want to thank our interpreters that have been doing a great job tonight. And this is clapping in sign language for everybody. So it's really important for us to make this as inclusive as possible, so we always have our interpreters here. And the other person I want to forget, because we always forget to forget them, and they're wonderful, is our amazing volunteer sound guy. Yeah. So, Glynn Babington, you've shown up to all of these huis since forever. No complaints and just made magic things happen, and thank you. And then this year we said, oh, actually, we want to live stream it. And he got a team. So thank you very much, Anton, for being here too. And we really appreciate your technology because it's got to so many people at home that couldn't be here tonight. And it means we'll send a link out so you can all watch this again. Like, how good is that? Keep eating and finishing off. Don't feel pressure to throw your food away. There's so much of it. I'm taking mine home for lunch tomorrow. I want to quickly give an update for what's happening in the network, very quickly though, because what we do want to get is all of your ideas. We have been going gangbusters since we moved into Orange, and it's really beautiful how everybody are very slowly coming back to normal and coming out and wanting to be part of things. We have heaps of art classes going on in the rooms. We have a new women's group that's starting up out of our rooms called Women Helping Otipoti. There's a few of them here that I'm sure could make some noise right now. So it's a group for any women in Dunedin who are interested in helping others and also having a lot of laughs and eating a lot of delicious food. They are in our lowdowns that are on the tables, so there's lots of ways to connect them. The Street Art Trail the South Dunedin Street Art Trail is also here. And at the moment, it's a phenomenal team of 3 women that are fundraising to get beautiful murals on our walls in South Dunedin so that they're coming through from the city.
Stand up.
So Rachel and Claire are here. And I think they've already fundraised enough for 3 walls, or at least some overbridges and things happening. If you know someone that owns a building that has a beautiful wall on it and is begging to be painted, these ladies want to hear. So all come to me and I'll connect you in. You will hopefully have received a lowdown in your letterbox. And if you haven't, hopefully you will shortly, because in the next 12 months, we're going from printing just under 2,000 in addition to 4,500. And we're going to get them out to letterboxes with a huge network of volunteers. And we need more volunteers. So if you want to deliver some lowdown magazines to your street, or you love walking and you want to do it to a bigger area, get in touch with us as well. It's really exciting, and it's connecting people that aren't ready to come out of their homes yet because of COVID, so it's important, and it's something that we've committed to spending quite a lot of our money on this year, getting those printed. There's 6 a year, so bi-monthly would be the term. Yeah. The last thing I want to quickly do is do some introductions. We have quite a new ropu membership on that's our governing board for the network. Are there any ropu members here, and could they quickly stand up for me? Sarah's, Alex here, Sarah's here, Steve King is here, Yola is our lovely photographer / ropu, Eleanor of course is here as well, and I just want to thank them also because they're my bosses, but thanks so much for all the volunteer work that you guys do. And I also want to introduce the fabulous Nicola, who's down the very end with lots of paperwork, making everything happen. She's our new administrator, so she is the person that's on the other end of admin at southdorg.org.nz. So thank you, Nicola, for all that you do as well.
And might I just say, Robin, as you can see, is magic, and none of this stuff would be working as well as it does without Robin. Yeah.
Wow. But thank you, everybody, because it's lovely. If you want to help and volunteer, there's always plenty of work. So let us know if you want to get more involved. It can sometimes be fun and sometimes be rewarding because it's hard work, and both are good. We have heaps of apples that the school has donated to us. So if anyone would like to take heaps of apples home, please do so at the end of the session. And I think that's where we're at. How are we doing for time? The last thing I wanted to do was give out a couple of t-shirts, which I think is still very important to quickly do, and it will warm us up to think about these questions we have to ask. So I'm going to ask everybody to stand up for me if you can. And what we're going to try and do is find out who has lived in South Dunedin the longest. But it must be the same period of time. So I don't count because I lived in Auckland for a little while, but don't judge me. So if you have lived here for less than a year, please sit down. If you've lived here for less than 5 years, please sit down. If you've lived here for less than 15 years, please sit down. Ooh, what should I go up in now? If you've lived here for less than 25 years, please sit down. Oh, if you've lived here for less than, can I go 30 years? 35 years?
How many shirts have we got?
Yeah, I think we might have enough shirts for all of you fellas, actually. So, where's Nicola? Oh, good. Nicola has shirts, so all of you, please come up here. That's phenomenal. Shall we keep going just to see who is the longest, though? 40 years? 42 years? 45 years? Wow. 47 years? 50 years?
Goodness.
How long have you lived here for? 66. So if you guys that were here for however many years we got up to, come see Nicola at the end of the session and she'll set you up with a t-shirt. I hope we have your size, otherwise you might have to get one for a loved one. So we might be ready to move into the second part of this evening now. Oh, I know it's exciting because it's t-shirts and they are fabulous. You should all still have a table host around your table, and they should have some paper. Their job is to write down all the fabulous things you say, so you can just vomit as many ideas as possible. That's the technical term, yeah. So we've got some questions to help you, and our first question that we're going to be asking you, just a bit of hush and you can talk in a second. Our first question, we're going to have about 3 minutes between questions, is our last Hui was in August 2021, 9 months ago. How have you been? What's one thing that's been going well? And what's one thing that's been a problem since we've seen you last? So, go! Okay, everybody, I think we'll move into question 2. You can always come back to them once we've got all 5 of them out. So, the second question, and now we're getting into a bit of library space stuff. So, if we're all ready, the second question, I don't want to have to get Eleanor to get all school teachery on it, but she will. The second question is thinking about the Veggie Boys and Para rubber space now. So all of our questions are focused around that as how we want to use it for a community thing. What would light your fire if you saw it in the Veggie Boys Para rubber space? If you were walking or driving past, what would really light your fire? Thank you, Joy. Oh. Okay, everybody, the next question is flying in hot. It's really lovely standing here watching everybody. It warms my community heart cockles. The third question is, what do you think this needs to make it usable or comfortable? So the third question is, what do you think this space needs to make it usable and comfortable? So think about what you would like to be in that space for you to want to go there. Okay, hopefully you might have moved on to question 4 anyway, but here's another question coming. Do you know of anyone who could use this space? Groups, people, organisations, anybody that's looking for space or could use space? And we've made it, people. It's 7:29, and I've got the 5th question. We need to be community clever. Who do you know that might be willing to be involved in this project? Tradies, donations, any donation of time. You might know someone that's got an old couch, piano, anything. Oh yes, if anyone knows a plumber, double points. Yeah. Kia ora everybody. Thank you so much for coming tonight. You're welcome to stay and keep chatting. There's leftover food at the door as you leave. Please take as much of it as you'd like. Otherwise it will go to the night shelter, just to let you know what we're doing with our food waste. So thank you very much, and we'll see you next time in November.
Mm-hmm.